So I'm away from home now, but I've brought my new toy with me because I want to finish opening it up so that I can look at what sorts of parts I might need to order and get them underway. After playing around with a Dremel cutting disc on an arbor, I decided that actually it wasn't the best way to go. The finest cutting discs on a Dremel are very fine, but they do tend to heal plastic behind them, and you've got to keep the Dremel incredibly straight in order to retain that thin constant line. So what I've been doing is literally just working the seam with a box cutter or Stanley knife as we call it in the UK, and that has opened this up, and behind the lens I've trimmed these two areas where it was obviously heat staked, and we're now at a position where this side has parted company, and that goes all the way to the end, because I'm hoping you can see that's twitching right there. So this other side I want to be very careful because there's a switch and I don't know what's underneath it, but I'm just going to weaken this to the point where I can maybe split it. I think many people would be disappointed if they got a torch like this, torch kit, and realised that A, it didn't work, and B, it would take a lot of work to make it work. But not me. I recognise this as being possibly the rarest optional extra ever offered for the XK8 XKR, and precisely for these sorts of reasons there is not going to be too many people who've got one fitted later in the vehicle's life. So I think this is fantastic and good fun and a great little project. What's quite telling here at this stage is I've just swept away the debris and only just noticed that some of it is black plastic. A lot of it is a white crust, so that's going to be remnants of battery. So we are doing the right thing. Whilst doing my own search for these, quite a few people seem to have recognised a similar product in BMW's options range, but more modern. And it does look quite similar, but having this in my hand, I can tell you that the BMW one is significantly larger. Can't be much behind there now. Peeping inside. Yes, the battery has corroded or ruptured. See that? And we're apart. There we go. And there we are, boys and girls, inside the genuine XK8 torch. So we can see the switch is a very, very simple affair, as expected. This little plastic thing just bends this metal bar into contact with the torch's holder. There is a little resistor down here. These are the two charging terminals. We've got a lead going straight to this top clip, which has the bulb touching it, and what appears to be two cells, I think, could be wrong, stacked one on top of the other. Now, at a glance, it does look like I might be able to remove them as if they're squoze between some spring clips. But equally, there's this little mark here, which I think might be a little weld, attaching that to that. Let's see what moves when I try to move it. Should really be wearing some gloves at this point, but don't have any with me. It is 1 or 2 cells. 2 cells. Let's see if we can remove that. Oh, we don't really need to, do we? Because we can lift the whole thing out of its little groove. And there she is. There's the bulb. I'll come back to that in a moment. I think it might just have gum under it, as in literal, you know, a lump of resin. Let's try lifting out the switch strip as well. And effectively freeing off everything internal. That's it. I think that was probably what was holding it. The gap between them is all furred up, so that was inevitably going to cause them not to pass current anyway. Yeah, these two are definitely soldered together using a thin metal strip. I was hoping to find some sort of identifying markings. Just flip out on my knife a pair of scissors. See if I can split that. There we go. I can actually see some markings. There. And there is the problem item. So what is it? V200H. So I'll do a little search on the internet, see if V200H battery comes up with anything. And we can learn a little bit more there. And of course the bulb should give us, say it again John, the lamp should give us the voltage. So using my phone as a magnifying glass, 0.25 amp. Osram 2.2 volt, 0.25 amp. Does this look intact? It does. So hopefully that's a good bulb. Battery situation we'll have a look at, see if new items can be bought. If not, then not to worry, because an LED instead of that and some other batteries entirely can certainly be rigged to work. Very excited, very happy, and the project moves on. Well, a few days have passed and I'm back in the garage. And I've now got some new parts. I managed to get hold of a battery, which is the Varta V250H. It's not exactly the same spec because it's got the shrink wrap on it and it doesn't have the tabs already attached, but it's close. And I managed to get some replacement lamps, not because this one's broken, but because why wouldn't you while you're taking it down this far. So my next mission is to try and modify this battery to carry out the same function as this one did. So if that's the positive, we need this piece to be attached to it. Mission 1 is to remove this from the battery. I'm making a big assumption that it's been soldered into position. So just levering it off. It's only a point contact, so it's not difficult. There we go. So that big piece goes to the positive side of the battery, and this terminal obviously is just soldered onto there, so we should be able to desolder that. Take a bit of effort. I might actually put some solder on this to wet the tip, and that'll give us a better contact. There we go. Better contact with the metal. And transfer the heat better. There it goes. Okay, so I'm going to clean up these 2 points on this terminal. Okay, so I've reinstalled the metal clips. The positive strip fits for a little slot in the side and is in the base, and has got some solder on the pip just to make a really good contact with the battery. That is now pushed home. All I have to do now is get this wire attached to the back of the battery and the back of the battery to make contact with the back of this lamp. And we can test, because there is some charge in the battery, that by turning the switch on and then just bridging between here and the base. And there's the bulb. So now all I need is something to go behind the bulb. And for that I'm going to use this female spade terminal, flatten it out so it fits nicely into that position, and I can crimp the top onto a piece of wire. So I'm just unrolling it, like so. Try again. There we go. And I'm going to push it back. Like so. And just screw this in. Make sure it's all going to work properly. Now I'm going to bend this back like so. All that remains is to make sure that this wire also gives some sort of contact on this side. There we go, starting to tin up the copper. Go to catch the battery. Ah! Functional torch. So there's my voltmeter. If I connect up to the battery via these two terminals, we get 2.49 volts. So what we're going to do now is put this on charge using this charging socket, like so. Okay, so let's put our positive terminal onto a positive car battery. Like so. And negative. And we will see what happens. We have 13.1 volts on the car battery. We have 2.507 on the battery being charged. The little resistor seems to be doing its thing. So we're 2.5 volts heading into our nominally 2.4 volt battery pack. That looks good. So I'm going to leave that for an hour or two. Charging at 2.663. So that's going well. While we're at it, I'm filming this on May the 2nd. So, and say ta-ra to Lee Wolford's 2004 XKR. And hello to John McKittrick's 2006 XK8 Kitten. And that's in London, Ontario, Canada. And a great shot of autumn colours. And like Lee's, on this picture we're emphasising the late model cars. So 2006 is more or less as late as the cars get. And what we're looking for in these late cars is they've got the flush headlights, which came midlife, if you like. But they've also got the sill extensions, and in this shot you really can see the front bumper moulding, the shell, has got a styling line which makes it look like the sill extends into the front. Late model cars also have this very obvious, much squarer, extra air intake below the mouth, the E-Type-esque mouth. Beautiful picture, John. Well done. And one of our regular subscribers and a regular entrant in our competitions. So here's the final arrangement. A few more adjustments have been made. So the key things are new batteries. These are going to be held in place by the casing. I soldered the contacts on. I made a new contact for the bulb to sit against out of an old spade connector and just reset the wiring. So, and we're all good. This line is the positive, and I've made note on the terminals of the socket that is the black wire, because it's a little unusual, because in the UK we very often think of as brown as being a live, an old live colour, so it's not obvious to me, so I've just marked it. And I will check the car. So all that remains with this is to reassemble it. And it was heat staked before, so it won't clip together and stay together. It's going to need bonding. And on here, I'm just going to put a little bit of double-sided foam. There it is. And that will ensure a really good contact between the two batteries. Now, as I said, there's no clip together mechanism for this. So because it was heat staked together before, what I'm going to use is liquid poly by Humbrol. This is an acetone based modelling glue in a childproof cap, unfortunately for me. Give me a moment. There we go, we're in. And this is really good stuff for rejoining things that were heat staked or just pushed together whilst partly molten, because you're not going to achieve that at home very easily. And it is a glue, but in the main, the way it's working is dissolving the surface of the plastic so that it can mingle with the opposite surface of the plastic. So paint it on like so, all the way around. Flip over your other item and do the same. All the surfaces that are going to come into contact with each other. This is why it was important to have a really thin cut, and I ended up switching from going for a Dremel cut-off blade to a craft knife, just to leave as much material on as possible. So just making sure that this one is fully wetted. There we go. And then push them together. Now, as I've explained, it's not really an adhesive action, although there's some of that there. So you want to keep it nice and firmly pressed together. And I'm going to use some insulating tape. I'm going to pull it tight to give it some stretch and put it all the way around the torch whilst it dries. If you leave a tatty end, it makes it easy to get back off later. There may be some sticky residue, but I will happily sit and clean that off. There's our torch, still functioning nicely. Anything missing from the torch now is the magnet. Now, I did save it. It's here. But it's really rather poor. So I've got some neodymium magnets where I will glue in place of this lump of magnet, little squares. And a couple of smaller neodymiums will do a much better job than this old magnet. Behind the little lens, I've got another area where I can glue on the surface. And you may remember there was a white label that was the reflector. Actually still got it here. But it's just white, so not brilliant. What I'll do is I'll use some aluminium tape to replicate that. And that's my piece of aluminium tape for hole cutting it, making a jolly good replacement reflector. And just to show you, that's what it did look like. That's what it does look like. Well, I think that's enough for today, folks. Not quite finished because I've got to stick the magnets on, but I've just got some little square magnets and they're going to get stuck into that hole. Peel off the tape, clean her up, and we're ready for the installation, which I've been really looking forward to. But so pleased to have finally the rarest of all of the XK8 options. I know it's a strange little thing, but for me that's beautiful. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel recently. Thanks to everybody who's got involved with Yo2 Conduit and subscribed to Jay's channel, and therefore has a chance of winning the painting of the XK8. And round about now you might be hearing about the winner of that. And thank you to everybody, particularly who has contributed a few pounds, and in some cases more than a few pounds, to our Just Giving page, which is collecting money to give to UNICEF to help with their work supporting the children of Ukraine. I really appreciate it, and as we said before, it's in memory of my father and my wife's father, and I really appreciate everything that everybody's done in terms of contributions. See you very soon. Maybe installing this, maybe it's another video, who can tell. Bye. So excited.
If you're enjoying our channel, then don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon so you get notifications of new videos. And please give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, and you can share the videos. And below the video is always the area where you can comment and get involved with the chat.